Hey guys, Luke here. Today I'm going to show you how to apply for American Express to get upwards of $40,000 in 0% interest business credit. If you guys are wondering who I am, I'm the CFO at funwithcredit.com. We've done over $20 million in 0% interest business credit for our clients, and I'm sharing this video with you all today in hopes to help you stay informed with business credit and to help you along your journey of acquiring business credit. Now, with AMEX, there's a couple ways that we can go about applying for their credit cards. So option number one is that we just go straight into the application. We don't start a relationship with them or anything. We just go online, we go to their cards, and we just start applying. Now, I do not recommend this method. It is something that you can do if you do need kind of capital pretty quickly, and it would be a good way just to get that money kind of quick. The only downside, or the couple of downsides by doing this is this. If you go and just start blasting applications with them without building a relationship, and as we know, businesses or banks appreciate a relationship and they reward as such. If you go in and just start applying, what's going to happen is either one, you're going to get most of the time lower approval limits, or number three, for whatever reason, you could maybe get denied. Now, denied is probably not going to happen. If you're ready, if your credit is clean and stuff and you're ready to apply, you will more than likely get limits, but they are going to be small. But if you do need the cash, that would be a good way to go about it. Now, if you do have some time to wait, what I would recommend is this way to get a relationship with them. And there's two ways to do that. There's a personal side and a business side. The personal way is you get the Delta Gold card. Like I said, it's a personal card. What you want to do is you want to spend on this card for 60 days and just do it naturally. Just use it as your day-to-day card. But the difference is when you are doing it for this 60-day period, and at least 60 days. If you can even go longer, that's even better, but at least 60 days. Pay the card off twice per statement, so twice per month. So halfway through the month, pay it off. Once you get to the end of the month, pay it off. Pay it off before that statement date happens. And you're going to do that a total of 4 times, so 2 per month. Now, the only downside to doing the personal card is that it does show up on your personal side. So you will have an inquiry for the hard pull that you've got from American Express, and 2, you are going to have a recently opened account. Those are the 2 only downsides to doing this, because you cannot remove inquiries on the personal side without shutting down the account. So you have to be very cautious about inquiry removal on the personal side, because it can shut down your account. So that's the only downside. However, if you go on the business side, and the business card that you would be looking for would be the Business Gold card. It is a charge card, and the same process. You would spend on it for 60 days, pay it off 4 times. Now, the great thing about the business card is that the inquiry that would be on your personal side, it could be taken off without closing the card down, and it would not be showing as a recently opened account on your credit profile on the personal side. So that's the plus. Now, the only downside is it is a charge card, which in some instances is good, but it's not really it's not 0%, so it's not the greatest card, but it is, more business capital. Or, like I said, the best way that I personally like is going the personal card route. And I'll tell you why here in just a little bit. Now, American Express pulls 1 to 2 bureaus. They will mostly pull Experian, but they will, in some cases, depending on where you live, because it is state dependent, they will pull Experian and TransUnion. Now, this is the cool part. By having a relationship with American Express, you do not get a hard pull a second time or any other time after you've gotten that first hard pull. So if I get the personal card, let's say, earlier in the year, and later in the year I start applying for the business cards, they will only be soft pulls, which is incredible. Because now you can get 2, so the 2 business cards that we're going to be looking at is the Blue Business Plus and the Blue Business Cash. When you apply for those cards, after you've built that relationship with them, you will not get hard pulls. They're only going to be soft pulls, which, like I said, is absolutely incredible. So that's the nice aspect of having a relationship with them, is because you can now get 2 or so cards for the price of one inquiry from a card that you got months ago. And whenever you are applying for American Express, like I said, you're going to be applying for the Blue Business Plus and the Cash. They're both 0% for 12 months. And I would do that in that order. Now, if you can apply for these on a referral link, I would recommend that, because referral links, as long as the person has a good relationship with the bank, they usually tend to give out better sign-up bonuses, and it's also a higher chance of getting approved and for maybe a little bit more. So if you can use someone's referral link, I would highly recommend that. Just keep those factors in mind of when you get a referral link. But you can still do it from the website. Like I said, there's just sometimes a little bit of extra bonus if you do it through somebody else's link. Now for data, what we're going to do is we're going to, for projected revenue, we have seen around 450 grand work the best. Now for personal income, we have seen around 125 to 150. Now what you have to be careful with an American Express is that if you establish too high of a personal income, it does increase your likelihood of getting or them requesting documentation from you. So the whole point of what we're trying to do with this is try to not have to prove any documentation, but banks still reserve that right to do if they feel like they need to. But that if you go too high on personal income, it can increase the odds of them asking you for documentation to prove it. So we've just seen around the 125 to 150 mark to be a good sweet spot. Now, of course, when it comes to personal income and revenue, you do have to consider your debt to income. What are your debt obligations per month? And, what you have listed as personal income, is that higher than that? There's a lot of considerations that you need to kind of put into it, and this is where you got to be strategic, is that no singular number is going to work for everyone. Everyone's different. Everyone has different situations. They got different stories. They got different things going on in their life. So you got to consider these things when you're doing personal income, because, if you have really high debt obligations, you might need to put higher income and maybe therefore higher revenue. These are just things that you need to consider. And I bring that up because I don't want you all to think that you have to use these numbers only. It's dependent on the human, on the person. What's your credit profile look like? So these are just where you need to kind of think about your situation, or if you don't know, talk to somebody who can help you. So just something to consider. Now, in terms of estimated monthly expenses that you'd be using on the card, we've seen around 32,000, just around that range to work really well as well. Now, in terms of employees, we've seen about 4 to 7 work good. Banks, of course, like it when they see that a business has employees. It just shows that the business is thriving, or I believe that's what they believe. But if that's not, then I don't know. But they like to just see employees. So have just at least a few employees on listed, as that will help with your application. Now, whenever you submit an application, so hit the Blue Plus and then the Blue Cash in that order. Now, whenever you submit the application, it can go into pending. That's a very common thing with a lot of banks. I would personally not recommend going and immediately applying for the Cash card if that one's in pending, if the Plus is in pending status. What you want to do is you want to call their business credit card application helpline, go through the prompts, and just be like, hey, I just want to check on the status of my credit card or on my business card, and say what card it was. And, they'll, of course, verify you. And, hopefully after maybe they verify you, they can push it through to an approval. But I would call that number, and once you get approved, then I would move to the second card. And whenever you are applying for these cards, for whatever reason, we have seen, can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but after 7 p.m. EST, so Eastern Time Zone, after 7 p.m., we've seen the best odds of an instant approval when applying for these cards. No one knows why. It's flabbergasted a lot of us, but for whatever reason, after 7 p.m. EST, we have seen that there's a better chance of an automatic approval. So that is just something to consider. So 7 p.m. EST, after that time, we've just seen the best chances of automatic approval. So apply for the first card. If it's a pending, call them. Once that one's approved, then move on to the second one. Now, going back to the building the relationship the two ways, this is something I do want to add. If you go the personal card route, so if you get the Delta Gold card to build your relationship with them, you now then, when you're applying for the two business cards, you can apply for the charge card as well. So you could apply for the plus, the cash, and then after those ones are done, go for the charge card. It's a really good charge card. I personally love their charge card. It's really great points bonus on like food, and it's one of the only charge cards where you can actually leave a balance on the card. So you don't have to pay the entire amount. A lot of charge cards, you have to pay the entire balance off per month. This charge card, you can leave a balance on it and pay like the monthly balance or the monthly statement balance that they request from you. You can do it like that. So it's a really good card. And that's why I was saying I recommend the personal card other than that card, is because now you can use this. Now you can get these three cards all for one inquiry. And the other added benefit, so I've seen Delta Gold cards get approved for like 10K. I've seen more, but let's just say 10K. If you get approved for the plus, let's just say for 15K. You get it for 15K. You get the cash for 15K. You now have 30,000. You have a $10,000 limit on that personal card. AMEX is one of the only banks where you can transfer money from a personal card onto the business cards. And you can do this once every like 90 days. So that 10,000 that you had on that card, you can move. I'm not sure how much exactly of it you can move. It's probably like 90% of the limit. I would leave a little bit on just to keep the card active. You can then get that, $10,000 and move it to your personal side. So now what was 30,000 is 40. What was 40,000, 50,000. And this is all 0% interest capital that you can now use for yourself and your business. And it's an incredible way. And for a lot of people, they struggle with having enough comparable credit when they are applying for business credit. If you have another card now that's worth, $10,000, that now raises your comparable credit. So you are knocking out a ton of birds with one stone. You're getting comparable credit. You're getting more money to put on your business accounts. And by establishing that relationship in the past, these three other cards that you now just got were all for soft pulls. I mean, it's just a win-win situation. That's why I like going the personal card route, so the Delta Gold, more than the other card. But they're still both good options. So it just depends on you, depends on your situation. Maybe you don't want to have the inquiry, the recently opened account. I get that. And you go with the business card and you just get that inquiry removed. Totally understand. They're both great options. That's just why I like the other option. So just to recap, I would recommend going and getting a personal relationship with American Express, and preferably through the Delta Gold card, which is a personal card. Then after you've done that, paid it off a couple of times per month for 60 days. So a total of 4 payoffs in 60 days after getting the card and naturally spending on it. You then want to apply for the Blue Business Plus. If it goes into pending, you call that number, get that squared away. Once that card is approved, or hopefully it's automatically approved, you then are going to move to the the Blue Cash card. You're going to do the same process. Then you can go and apply for the Business Gold card, which is a charge card. And I would definitely recommend getting that card. It's an incredible card. After you've done that, I would then get the limit from the other card. If you want to, get the limit from that one card and transfer the Business Gold card or the Delta Gold card to the personal card, and then move it to whatever business card that you want. And now you just got extra capital. I mean, guys, this is an incredible aspect of American Express, and I hope this video helped you. This is all I have. I really hope that you guys got some value from this. Of course, I just want to make sure you guys understand this. You can have all the best data points. You can have everything correct. Now, if your credit profile is not ready to go, do not apply for these banks. If you are not sure that your credit profile is good, have someone, maybe you know somebody, talk to a professional, figure out, are you ready to go? Because guys, if you start applying for these banks and you're not ready to get funded, or maybe you're in a high risk industry, or you just don't understand how this system works, talk to somebody. Don't go and just start blasting applications, because if you do, the only person that's going to suffer is you, because you're going to, by just getting impatient, you can then, dox yourself, hundreds of thousands of dollars in 0% business interest credit. So, just don't rush into it. Be strategic. Understand, what bureaus are these banks hitting, and just keeping track of that. Know what bureaus are going to hit. Do you have comparable credit? Do you have a good credit score? I would not apply for business credit if you don't have at least a 720. And of course, higher the better. How many inquiries do you have? How many recently opened accounts do you have? These are a lot of things that you do need to consider. And, that's just on the personal side. What's your business like? How old is it? What industry is it in? These are things that you just need to understand. And I'm just saying that because I don't want to see people going out there and applying for something that they're not ready for, and then they hurt themselves. They dox themselves so much money that they could have used, if they had just been a little bit more patient. But, I tell you all that because I just want you guys to know that I'm rooting for you and I'm wishing you all the best. Hope you all take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.